quilter, Stephanie here. I am going to show you how I make t-shirt quilts. So usually around graduation time and Christmas time, I get orders for t-shirt quilts. And what I typically do is I ask for 20 to 25 t-shirts, and the front and the back count as 2. So there's nothing on this one on the back, just the front. So I will only be using the front on this one. So the last t-shirt quilt that I made, I took videos of the process, and I'm just going to show you what I do. And I have to emphasize that if you make t-shirt quilts and you don't like the way that I do mine, it's okay. Do whatever works for you. As in all quilting, whatever works best for you is the method and the way that you should make your quilts. So I am making this video because I've seen a lot of people in my quilt groups want to know how to make a t-shirt quilt, and this is for you if you want to learn how to do it, or if you maybe want to pick up some tips and tricks. I have some, especially in ironing, so make sure you watch how I iron my t-shirts. It cuts back the time dramatically. So please enjoy this video. I'll see you at the end. Here are my shirts. Here are my shirts for this quilt for a friend of mine. She wanted to make a graduation gift for her granddaughter. Her granddaughter was really active in soccer and is now playing soccer at college. So we're really excited for her and really proud of her. I asked for 20 to 25 shirts, and I believe I got 26, and I made all of them fit. And she wanted a full size quilt, and I was able to meet that without any problems with that amount of shirts. I mean, if you're gonna go king size, oh boy, I've never made a king size t-shirt quilt, but if you're gonna go that big, you might need double. I mean, you're talking like probably 45 shirts, I'd say. Right here, I'm going to show you that I use a rotary cutter to cut down the shirts. And you'll see here in a second that I cut off a sleeve with the scissors. And it does take up a little bit more time. I mean, if you want to use scissors, by all means, go ahead. That's just not what I do. I just start cutting here. My friend wanted to keep all the extra cloth, so I put that aside and I gave it back to her when I was all finished. Here's the rotary cutter. And that's all. I mean, it seems like it probably shaved a couple seconds off of it shaves some, it does shave. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I probably would save a few minutes just by using the rotary cutter, because now I have to cut down the actual block of the t-shirt. When I line my ruler up to cut these, I always look for the words, the letters. My cat was wanted that shirt, and so he was trying to pull it down. So when this is the back of the shirt. She didn't want the front on the quilt, in the quilt, I guess I should say. And I just line up the letters on the ruler just to make it square on my first cut. It could be at the bottom, it could be right in the middle of the image. I just find a place to start to square up my first cuts. Right, now that I've squared off the top here, I will know that is a true edge. And I will line that up here in a couple seconds so that I can do the sides. There we go. There, I'm lining it up. Now look at the top where it's narrow. The block will not be wider than it is at its narrowest point. So what I'm going to do is just cut down where it's narrow, and that will be the beginning. I might trim this down later, I might not. Just depends on how it lines up later. What I like to do is I like to make the block as big as possible. The first time I cut it, I make it as big as I possibly can, because I can cut it down later, but you can't make it bigger. I thought this was a pretty cool shirt. Alright, now I've got that top. I never cut the bottom on the first cut. I'll fold that up, this extra piece, the front, and give it back to my friend. I never cut the bottom because I might need that later. I might need the length on it. So again, I just make the beginning cuts, and I will trim later as needed. And I've got a whole lot more to cut. Alright, now I have all of the shirts cut, and I'm showing you that I used, and yeah, fix the camera stuff. Okay. I film and do all these videos on my own, so I don't have any help. Here we go. So I have got Shirt Tailor Pellon. It's 950F, 950F. That's typically what I use. It's my favorite. It is a really good weight for t-shirts. I find that it goes through the machines well. It goes through the long arm machine really well, and it keeps the shirt stabilized. The reason you have to use the stabilizer is because most shirts are not 100% cotton. They'll have nylon or other things in them, and that will shift and move as you're quilting, and even over time they'll shift and move, and it might bunch up in places. So you always want to use a fusible web on the back. Now here I'm just setting up my first shirt here with the Pellon. Usually the shirt is longer than the Pellon, and I don't cover the bottom. I mean, you can see there's probably an inch or two at the bottom left. I'm not going to worry about that because I know that I will probably cut that off and won't use it later. I'll just cut the wider, the width of the t-shirt. I've never had to go back and add more onto the bottom of a shirt. You'll see here in a little bit how I square them up too after they have the Pellon on them. A friend of mine brings t-shirts over to me, and she just wants me to put the Pellon on it. On the t-shirts for her, because she doesn't really like that part. It's not hard, it does take time. And the Pellon can be expensive. I just get mine at Joann's. Use a coupon and go buy a bolt of it, because usually I'll use a bolt to a bolt and a half for a T-shirt quilt. Usually I can, if I'm watching sales and stuff, I can get a bolt for $25 to $30. All right, back to the yellow shirt. This is the secret to my ironing. This is a heat press, T-shirt heat press, and I'm at when that gets to 340 degrees, I can press the shirt instead of using an iron. Imagine that. So the top part is very hot. It'll be 340 degrees. I put the vinyl in there with the shirt and the Pellon. Push the heat press down. And it takes, I think it's 13 seconds. And that will fuse the T-shirt to the Pellon. And I don't use an iron. This works so well. It makes me so happy. You have to use this vinyl because the vinyl on the shirt, like all the soccer ball and all the lettering and stuff, it'll get so hot and will stick to the top of the iron. So use that vinyl if you decide to go this route. I actually ordered an extra one just in case I lost my other one. And that has happened, but mostly because my kids take them. All right, now I'm doing the bottom of the shirt. If the shirt's super big, you might have to go around this, a couple times. That's not a big deal. It's still easier than using a handheld iron. I will put a link to this power heat press, probably on my YouTube channel or on Facebook, and it's an affiliate link to Amazon. That's where I got my heat press. So now we'll see that I try to lift that up. It's stuck on there super good. It's not going anywhere. And that makes me happy. I mean, that just saves so much time, using your handheld iron to go spot after spot after spot. Now I've got my Pellon on. It looks good. It is pressed. And this is a 12.5 by 12.5 ruler. This is going to be bigger than the ruler, obviously. However, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to line it up. I'm trying to line up the next cuts that I make. Making it even, I look at the grid on each side, and there I go with the letters again. This shirt was bigger than that yellow one. And now I'm thinking about how to cut the bottom or the top and the sides, and line it all up so I can trim it down. What I do here is I'm looking at the sides, the edges. There's 1.5 on the left, and there's about 2 inches on the right. That's still not squared up, so I'm just going to keep working at it and lining it up better. And when I'm happy, I'll take the big ruler and I'll make the cuts on the sides. I don't know if I film. The thing is that I have the camera in one hand, and I can't cut and film with the other hand at the same time. So anyway, there you can see it right there. There's that white one. So what I did here was, these are the biggest cuts that I can make, and you'll see that they don't line up well. What I do is I make columns, arrange them, make columns, and then I will trim down the sides, the tops, and the bottoms as I go. So I liked this layout. I think I moved one of them later. I really liked how all these colors came out so well. There's so many, it's a lot easier when there's colors. All the colors are different. Now let's just jump over my mom's house, and we are machine quilting. And if you look at that plaid backing, that is what that's what the customer picked out. So my friend's, actually it was my friend's granddaughter, picked out the back. And now we are just quilting it. We're using maybe a medium meander, and it's all quilted. And I was really pleased with it. Now I am just trimming the sides of the quilt because when my mom does the quilting on it, she doesn't really trim it down. That's up to me. So typically, and I filmed this because I want to show you that for me, and you may disagree heavily, however, I cut according to the borders. So I'm looking at between the white and the black right there. You can see that I lined up between the black and the white. Let's see, that looks like 2.5 inches maybe of black, and that's how I determine where and how much to cut off. Is that I want that to look as square as possible. So that's how I trim the edges and the border. And you may not like that. You may have your own method. That is great. That's fine. This is what works for me. And do what works best for you. And you don't have to, if you want to tell me how you do it in the comments below, how you square up your edges and your borders, please do. I'll take it into consideration. Heck, maybe I'll even give it a try later. But this is how I do it. I just love how this quilt turned out. I was really happy with it. I've done so many of these that it seems to be it's automatic for me. I get them all going. I don't really have any hesitation or worries or nervousness about it. Then, like the first quilt that I did, what I did was I just went and watched videos, the same as what you're watching here, and just tried to teach myself how to do it. So now I've got the edges trimmed up, and the quilt's all laid out, and it is beautiful, and I'm so happy. It's laying on my floor. It's the biggest place where I can lay out my quilts. And I love this collage effect. Again, I arranged the columns. You'll notice the column width for all of these blocks is the same. I do it in columns, not in rows. That seems to work out easiest for me. Oh, I just love this one. All right, now I am going to cut some of this plaid for the binding. That's what she wanted for the binding. You know, some people say, Steph, you pick out the back and the binding, and I will if they want me to. But if they want to pick out their own fabric, I just, sure. Makes my life easier. She even went and bought it and gave it to me to use. So that was easy for me. I'm doing a biased binding, which is my preference. I will be making another video about bias binding. Bias binding is my favorite binding because it seems to last longer, and it's more durable, and it gives way. It's more flexible, and I prefer it for my quilts. I'm just going to skip here to this bias binding that I made, and that's what I'm going to use for the edges. And I'll just be sewing that on here. And there is my finished product. Super happy with this one. I've made several of these. I always enjoy making them. They're fun to do. Alright, so that is how I make a t-shirt quilt. You can find me at YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel called The Quilty Knitter. Same with Facebook, Quilty Knitter. I'm also on Instagram as The Quilty Knitter. And more importantly, on quiltswag.com. My husband and I made a website called quiltswag.com, and I would invite you to come over and sign up and take a look. It's kind of a new website, and it's for quilters. It's for you to interact with others. My husband and I started this journey several years ago with just an idea that I wanted to create a social networking place for quilters and fabric arts. And so we are we have been really learning how to do a website like this, and it's been a really huge undertaking. We've put a lot of work into it. It's not quite finished, but it's great for social networking right now. It's the biggest, well, I hope it will be the biggest show and tell website on the internet someday. And for all you quilters, I know that you know what show and tell is when you go to your quilt groups or your quilt shops. It's show and tell time. So this is a place where you can search for quilts and fabrics and patterns and designers and anything quilt related. So I invite you to come, sign up. It's free, doesn't cost anything. Check it out. Post some of your projects. Put some pictures of your quilts on there. I'd love to see them. That's also where my blog is. So I invite you to come and check that out and read past blogs. Please subscribe or like my channel. And I'll see you soon. Happy quilting!